For more on the politics of this situation, let's turn to our own Howard Fineman, the senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
The number of people today who I found were astounded to learn that the insurance cartel, that's not just some clever, wise-ass remark that I made. It really is a cartel. The health insurance companies have this antitrust exemption. They've had it since 1946. Somebody who testified to the Senate hearing today testified that at least 4 previous occasions the authorities have recommended, the federal government has recommended eliminating or scaling back the antitrust exemption. Congress has never taken that step, presumably because the industry owns the Senate.
Well, partly that. They also own the states, and they prefer it that way. By the way, it's not just antitrust laws, federal antitrust laws. It's the Supreme Court decision that was then followed up by that law in 1945 basically keeps the federal government out of the regulation of the insurance business. And what's happened in this country, and we have talked about it a little on the show, is that health insurance has grown out of life insurance, and partly because of that, a lot of these big companies that used to be life insurance companies have become health insurance managers. And yes, they've taken advantage of that exemption from federal regulation to kind of have their way with the states for all these years, and that's a big part of the problem that Congress is confronting now.
The other notable industry that has this exemption, many of us know that would be professional baseball. And over the years, as I was implying to the congressman, over the years, Congress has had modest, very rarely used success getting baseball to jump through hoops to keep that exemption. Could that be the best use of this? Could that be the strategy here? Threaten the exemption, restrict it in some ways, but don't kill it so you always have that axe to go to, or does it have to be axe time?
Well, it may have to be axe time, but it's interesting that Chuck Schumer is leading the parade here, the senator from New York, because it's New York and other states like Connecticut and a couple other states that have always played a huge role in the regulation of the insurance business. They don't want to give that up, and Schumer, being from New York, probably has some local interests that wouldn't want it to be given up. But the fact that he's pushing as hard as he can now means that all bets are off with the insurance business. A lot of other stakeholders remain at the table with Rahm Emanuel there in that room, at least by proxy. But the insurance industry has declared war on the Congress, and that's going to be a defining element from here on out.
Speaking of that table, why is Senator Snowe getting a seat at the bill merger table?
By the way, in honor of Monty Python, I want to say that looked like a video clip of the Ministry of Silly Walks, but I think that Olympia Snowe is going to be in a side room, at least initially. Then she'll be part of it. She's part of it because, as Congressman Grayson was saying, she's gotten an inordinate role in this because of the mathematics of the Senate and because of the way the administration has approached this. You made a great point earlier, which is Rahm Emanuel said at the beginning of this process, remember, he said, let's never let a good crisis go to waste. That was one of the reasons they pushed health care to begin with, but they haven't dealt with it or negotiated about it in crisis mode. They've negotiated it sort of backroom poker style, and that's another reason why Olympia Snowe will be at that table.
The Candy A statement from Mr. Reid, and then this later one from Mr. Reid, Mr. Baucus, and Mr. Dodd that makes the same point tonight about needing 60 votes, about crafting a bill that can garner 60 votes, and then he said his caucus wouldn't go along. Senator Frist never had 60 votes, and by the way, he was also a doctor, which would have helped if he had been on this side of the equation. He certainly didn't care, never much needed them. When did the Democrats start looking for a new leader? Is this it for Harry Reid, one way or the other?
Well, there's a lot of pressure on him. His answer and his aides' answers are these. Or the main one they give is that 60 number that we're talking about. But I would also say that Barack Obama, the president, has a responsibility here, too, as I was just saying. The way the White House has approached this, which is to turn it all over to the Congress and keep hands off, at least publicly, and really for the most part privately, has made it more difficult for somebody like Harry Reid, who has got enough problems in leadership of his own. If Barack Obama had a clear, definitive, and tough initial bargaining position for a public option, for a sweeping program of some kind that was clearly defined and marketable, he would have made life a lot easier for Harry Reid. So now you got the combination of the president hanging back and Harry Reid trying to deal with an unmanageable Congress.
Herding cats. Howard
Exactly.
Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC, as always, great thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you, Keith.